In the midnight hour.
In the midnight hour. In the midnight hour, you cry more, more, more.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Billy Idol.
Yeah, that's right. What's
Good
the name
old
of that
Billy
song?
Idol. Rebel Yell.
With the Rebel Yell.
Yeah. She cried more and more and more.
Wait, does he say midnight hour or is he with the Rebel Yell?
No, it says in the midnight hour. In the midnight hour, she cries more and more and more. With a rebel yell, she cries more and more.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So it's a Rebel Yell at the midnight hour.
Bingo. I think.
All asking for more.
All asking for more. More of what? I don't know. I can't remember the rest of the lyrics.
Listen, somebody correct us.
Intro to that song, though, is marvelous.
What, musically? Like on the guitar side of things?
I
I can't hear the intro in my head right now.
It's pretty cool. It's a cool intro.
Is it fun?
Yeah, it's
Fun to play?
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Good morning.
Good morning, good afternoon.
Wherever you are.
It's afternoon for us. We just ate
Morning food.
morning food at a local hole in the wall.
Pop's Place. Shout out.
Yeah,
Little claps for that.
Here on the Irwin Highway, just down past Mountain View Bulk Foods. Also, you may more so know it as its neighbor as the Farmer's Daughter.
Little claps for that too, I guess.
Pop's Place, yeah. Come get you some grub. Also, they close at 11:30. More of a breakfast hub now.
I just had the big boy breakfast because I'm a big growing boy.
You had the breakfast of a big boy at lunch.
I'm a grown boy. What can I say?
I went hybrid.
You did a breakfast burger.
I did a burger that encompassed
Breakfast foods.
an egg on top of it, which
Some would say, bless the Lord.
well, some would also say that's nasty, which is interesting. I'm going to go out on a limb and say the people who don't think an egg is good on a burger have just never tried it. They've looked at it on the menu.
Or they're lying.
They've looked at it on the menu and they're like, no. And they've never given it a try so that they could experience what is the goodness of a egg that bursts and runs amok.
A burger with an egg on it is like the boba tea of burgers.
I don't know what a boba tea is.
It's the one's got little bubbles in it. When you drink the tea, you get the boba bubbles and they pop with flavor.
Is this a hot tea?
No, it's cold tea. It's cold drink.
Oh.
It's boba tea.
I'm familiar with it.
Anyways, burst with little flavors of like fruits and stuff like that. That's what an egg on a burger. It's the boba tea of burgers.
Okay.
I'm just staking that claim right there.
All right. You heard
For all
it
of our
here.
tea drinkers.
You heard it here first. I drink most of my tea sweet, and the only other drink I drink mostly is coffee, water. So I know nothing of this boba tea you speak of. I know Boba Fett, which is
You'll learn.
a Star Wars reference. Anyway, so what we're going to talk about today is something that it's basically an alias that
we go by.
So like when someone asks me what do you do? You know, I struggle with how to say that because it's like, oh, we do a lot of things.
We photo, we video, we blah blah blah.
But at the end of the day, I've almost just like fell back to we're problem solvers.
We are problem solvers.
Yeah.
Within a medium.
Yeah, I mean, we use the medium of photo and video to do that, but at the end of the day, we are problem solvers. And so we're kind of going to give you a look into kind of how that process looks with us.
The process of solving problems.
We're going to use a use case of one of our past clients, and we're going to walk you through that process of how from start to finish we were constantly solving problems. And that's not saying like problems were a bad thing, but like that's what we do is we find a problem and we try to solve it from start to finish. But first, let's thank our sponsor.
Sponsor for today's episode is none other than us, Motion Creative Media, and our blue collar LUT. Folks, if you are looking for a way to spice and dice up your video footage, whether it be from a phone, a DSLR camera, mirrorless camera, etc., look no further than the description below. Yeah, add a little sauce to your footage with our blue collar LUT. It is essentially a drag and drop, plug and play filter for your videos.
Yeah.
You drop it on your footage, you get a nice little look.
Give it a little punch, a little contrast.
A little sauce, as the kids say.
Download it, link in description. Try it out. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, let us know what you think. Jared, thanks for sponsoring this episode.
Hey, thank you.
Not a problem. My pleasure.
Yeah.
Meat and taters. Get into the meat and taters. We are solving problems today, and we are going back through a use case of an actual client of ours, Sterling Wellness.
Yeah. So I don't know. It was a year or so ago now. We had a company, Sterling Wellness, who approached us through basically a referral from
another client.
From another client that we had.
That we solved problems for.
This client reached out, and their whole thing is what they do is they are on-site nursing, and they also offer online health coaching solutions for businesses who maybe have a large employee base, maybe need nursing, but
looking to reduce some insurance claims.
Doesn't necessarily need to have one on staff. Right. This is a third-party entity.
It's a hybrid.
Yeah, you can contract
method
through them and have a nurse that is yours.
Little claps for that.
So anyway, Sterling Wellness.
Yes.
Look them up. They came to us with a need for a video, right? They needed a video to basically the thing that we keyed in on our first production Zoom call, pre-production Zoom call with the marketing agency, was they kept using, and I don't know if they meant to, but we keyed in on the fact that they kept saying, we want to tell the impact of our services and how they can be a benefit to
be useful.
All these other businesses. So we basically dubbed the project Impact, right? We
Impact
literally wanted
project.
to show the impact that this service could have for any business watching.
Well, more specifically, I remember on that call, their big goal was they wanted to be able to show this use case to other businesses to try to get them to make the decision to do business with them.
Right. So Sterling Wellness has a client in our area. The client was Summers Taylor, which we've shot with forever. They wanted to showcase Summers Taylor as a use case so that they could use it to be on their website. Other people could say, oh, now I understand.
Yeah, this is who you are, this is what you do, and this is why I should care.
Yeah, so they came and they gave us this initial concept. And so what we did was we got on a Zoom call with them. And this basically our whole process, you can break it up in a bunch of different ways, but basically we break it down into three
phases.
It's pre-production, production, and then post-production. Right. It all kind of revolves around production. Pre-production, as you may be able to divulge, is something that happens prior to
before
production.
we roll.
Which, here's the thing, I'm going to butcher this
before we hit play.
This phrasing, but it's basically proper planning prevents poor performance.
It's a lot of puzz.
I think there are also some other variations that include more peas, but we'll just leave it
Peter
at that.
Piper picked a patch of pickled peppers.
Basically, we learned through a lot of error when we first started out that we hated ourselves more in post-production, and ultimately the final product wasn't what we wanted if we did not put the time in pre-production.
Goes back to an old saying, if you fail to plan, you can go ahead and plan to fail.
Yeah, same thing. There's tons of isms that can illustrate the importance of being prepared.
Yes.
So, pre-production, what that means with us is we generally will hop on either a phone call or
call.
Very common now is like a Google Meet or a Zoom
if you
call.
Want to see these ugly mugs?
For whatever reason, if you want to. But sometimes you can help read body language. So
I think so.
I like them.
Yeah.
They're helpful. So they reached out. We said, hey, let's hop on a Zoom call. We hopped on a Zoom call. We started asking a bunch of questions. And basically on our end of things, this is our opportunity to kind of understand
what you need.
Yeah. So we're asking things like, okay, what's the goal of this piece? And that's where in Sterling's case, we figured out, look, they want to show the impact that their services can have for a business. Okay, cool. So we know the mission, right? We're then saying, okay, who's the target audience? You know, because that matters. How we ask questions.
Matters who we have on camera.
Matters who we have on camera. For instance, if your goal is to have other decision makers at other businesses, your presidents, your CEOs, those types of people.
Which theirs was.
It was, and we found that out, right?
So we had executives on camera.
We had executives on camera from Summers Taylor to explain some of the
benefits
back end on the business side, which is really what the decision makers ultimately need to see, right? They need to see like the brass taxes, so to speak, you know? So we at that point knew, okay, who's your target audience? So that helps
CEOs.
us. We then started to ask questions like, okay, what's your distribution method? And so, for instance, that just basically, for simplicity purposes, like, is this going to be on socials?
It's going to be on TV.
Yes, it's going to be on TV.
Where are we
changes
putting this video?
How do we color it? All those things. Website. So then you've got your licensing and all that. The big thing that is super helpful for what we do, though, and thankfully we already knew because we'd shot with Summers Taylor, but we had the opportunity to ask, okay, what location do you want to film these in? And they're like, well, we'd like to film them on location at Summers Taylor. So that, because we already knew and we'd been to the model mill and job sites with Summers Taylor, all those things, we knew what to expect. But if we didn't know what to expect, well, that was an opportunity for us to then do some literal location scouting, which is very important. And if you're afforded the opportunity,
do it.
Truly, sometimes you're not.
Most of the time you're not, actually.
Yeah, time constraints may not allow for that. But you can start solving problems with location before you ever show up.
Before you even show up to hit play.
So that is kind of, in a nutshell, a quick view as to like what pre-production might look like with us. We're asking all these questions so that we can...
It's a call. It's a Zoom meeting. Sometimes it's an in-person meeting even, depending on the client.
Yeah, so that we can put together a plan, right? At that point, we're going to put together shot lists. We're going to put together some motivational images. Like another question that we didn't really mention necessarily, but like we would ask the people's like, okay, do you have a video of a competitor or anything else?
Just a video that you like.
That you liked, right? Because if they have that, then we know...
We've got some inspiration.
We've got a lot of things where it's like, okay, well, we like the look of that.
Yeah.
We know visually what we're trying to do. Love the pacing and the feel of this, etc. So we ask for, inspirational imagery. Again, we're doing a shot list. We're also able to, because we've done pre-production, know what gear we need to bring, possibly rent gear if we don't have it,
crew
in our arsenal,
much crew we need,
all those things. So that kind of takes us all the way up to production. And once we know all those...
Real quick, I don't mean to cut you off, but all of those things point back to, and you've mentioned this many times here on the podcast, and this is something that we consciously try to make an effort for. We want to be in the trenches with you and your business. Like, I want to be same direction mentally as what you are trying to go as a business, which is why we ask all these questions, why we have these meetings, why we do location scouts. Just, again, not to interrupt you, but I want to be in the trenches with you and your business.
Right.
Because your success dictates mine.
Yeah. Or if we do bad, then...
Or like thereof.
Yeah, so absolutely. So like their instance, the overarching problem, the initial problem that was presented to us was they had a difficult time. They didn't have any media to show someone passively what they do and what they're about and why they should ultimately, become a client of theirs. So that was our goal. In comes production. And in this case, because of all the pre-production elements that we did, we knew that we were going to knock all of our interviews out in one day on location. We were going to film some B-roll from their screenings, right? Because they do some biometric screenings for your insurance purposes. And we budgeted a second production day because we knew that we would need to get some field footage of their nurse out in the field with some of the Summers Taylor work crews.
Because that's what she actually does.
That's what she does.
Out in the field.
So we budgeted 2 production days. And again, had we not known the model mill and been privy to that, again, some cases you don't get to location scout, but the entire day of production is still solving little problems after little problems after
even
little
if
problems.
You have location scouted.
Yeah, I mean, something's going to be different the day you get there. The light's going to be different. So you look ahead and you plan as much as you can. But all that to say, from start to finish with what we do, that's all you're doing is solving problems. So, for instance, the first day of production was the screenings and interviews, right? Well, we knew that we wanted to hold 2 different interview locations.
Right.
Okay, so there's a problem, right? We're needing to set up lights, audio, all this kit for one interview location.
Right.
We also know that we're going to have to do it at a separate location just because we kind of wanted to break apart our hero, essentially.
Well, yeah, we had in-field interviews.
We also had in-field interviews.
interviews.
So, again, it even comes down to like when you're literally setting your interview shots up, you're solving problems. Like, okay, I don't like that plant there, so you're moving the plant, or you're moving the tripod 6 inches to frame this window out that is glaring, or whatever. All of those are just tiny little problems that you're solving, that you're doing on the fly, so that you can have a good finished end product. So in production, we talked about how many days. We talked about the location. You're constantly needing to solve problems on the fly when you get to set up your interview angles, but also the equipment, right? So
we're hauling in tripods. We're hauling in lights, stands, the works.
That's where having a crew helps.
Yeah.
It is you can be a lot more efficient and nimble with moving all those moving parts because there are a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
That's something that everybody says every time they come on to be a
podcast,
guest here. They're like, oh, wow, there's a lot to this.
You have a lot of crap.
We do and we don't. We don't. It looks like a lot.
Comparatively speaking, not so much. We're pretty simple, comparatively speaking.
But yeah, so part of production is, in this case, was going to be heavy on the interviews, right? Yeah. So because we knew who our target audience was, we knew what we were trying to say, we had pre-formulated 4, 5, 6 questions that we were going to ask these people.
Yep.
So that hopefully we would lead them to give us the answer on screen that would help us to tell this story in the most impactful way. Yeah. And so one of the big pushes I remember with Sterling was they wanted to explain how important their pre-screenings were.
Yeah.
And what that is, for people who don't understand, is it's the yearly thing that you've got to go do. You've got to go get your blood drawn.
Basically, your yearly physical.
Your yearly physical. And what may happen as a result of that is your numbers and your blood work may point to, oh, you've got a condition. You've got a condition that you didn't know about otherwise. It's early detection with a lot of things. So anyways, what we wanted to do, we had drawn inspiration from a film, a commercial piece from
Mark Bone,
one
of our Canadian director heroes.
They did a fantastic piece for a cybersecurity company.
Yes.
But the way they played it was beautiful. They tugged on my heartstrings right off the bat because they used Denver Rescue Mission.
Yep.
And then pivoted into this being the solution and why they were able to do their mission. All that to say, what we wanted to try to do was tell a story.
We wanted to emulate that.
Of someone who, through screening and early detection, was able to get ahead of some sort of condition and ultimately defeat that condition. Right. So we had a person who was going to do that on camera for us, and we had questions we were going to ask that person. We knew we were going to ask specific questions to the executives that would be able to speak to, again, the business side of things.
Yeah. I think the goals, if we go back a little bit to pre-production with them specifically, big goals obviously were to get people to understand how they worked, what they did.
Yeah.
But to show a use case about a condition that they were able to catch and properly treat at that point in time. Then on the executive side, really it boiled down to how much money can we save the company on insurance claims?
Yeah, because that is a benefit to having
concern. This. Yeah, it's a big concern with businesses. If you've got employees that are misusing their insurance or not going to the proper doctors or proper healthcare, like that costs the employee and it costs the company a lot of money too.
Well, so like specifically with construction, I know a lot of the situations are poor diet.
Yep.
And
SIGs.
And well, yeah, I mean, so you got nicotine. So there's big things that are present with construction that Summers Taylor automatically combats.
Yeah.
They've been able to drop a lot of those as a result of Lauren, who you'll see in the video.
I will link that video in the description below, by the way.
Yeah, so you can go watch
Wellness video.
But I say all that to say, we went in with a preset determined of question, or a predetermined set of questions that we're going to ask people. I'll get it out at some point. But what you have to be able to do is you have to know how to ask the questions. And like, say you ask it the first time. Mm-hmm. They kind of give you...
Most of your first answers are a little reserved.
Yeah, they give you 60% of what you're needing.
Right.
You may need to dig a little deeper.
Yeah.
Rephrase it a bit, ask it a different way, so that they will ultimately give you what you need on camera. And you learn those things through doing it.
Yeah, it's just trial and error.
We didn't know when we first started out. We just thought interviews were
a conversation.
Yeah, conversation, asking questions, and they can be. But the trouble is like if you don't capture on camera the dialogue bits that you need to tell the story
in the fashion that you need them.
Then the piece is going to be weaker at the end of the day.
I think one thing that we've learned too, and I know me specifically because I do a lot of the interviews, I had to get better at not reacting as much to answers, because a lot of times what would happen is somebody would answer and I'm immediately firing back with, my rebuttal, because it's a conversation to me at that point in time. I'm a conversationalist, I guess you could say. A lot of the times though with interviews, like you have to kind of give people a blank stare so that subconsciously they're encouraged to give you more information.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing just on the technical side of interviewing that I feel like tried to improve on and get better at is active listening. Yeah. And not necessarily being verbal with our communication as the interviewer. But it prompts people to give them the answers that the piece needs to be effective.
Yeah. And so I guess that kind of takes us through most of the production. The production was simple.
Literally set up lights, do interviews, tear down lights, go home.
Tear down lights, go home. And so now it moves us into the third phase, which is post-production, which is a daunting portion, but it's also maybe the most important part, because I could make a very good use case and argument for it is literally nothing but images on an SD card until it's crafted into that finished story piece.
Can't agree with that.
So until it's edited well, effectively, right? Then you've done nothing other than record a bunch of cool shots.
Yeah, a lot of data to SD cards.
So brings us into post-production, in which case the problem solving doesn't stop.
I think this is where the problem solving gets harder, because decisions have to be made. So a lot of times, like for instance, if we're only doing a social cut for somebody that we know is not going to have any dialogue, a lot of times I personally enjoy working kind of in reverse. Like I will go ahead and know, like, okay, we're going to edit to this genre. Yeah, I want my music first.
I'll kind of have at least 2-3 songs in my mind as I'm shooting, so that I've kind of got the music in my mind. I've got the beat, like I know the style and the pacing.
Yes.
Well, with this case, when it's going to be narrative and dialogue driven, you kind of can't do the music until you know what's been said.
Right.
Even if you have a great idea, because like, okay, this person is going to tell us this.
Yeah.
They may not give you that.
Right, or they may not give you what
they
you
may
need.
give you something that like you're like, oh, I didn't really expect that, but that was gold.
Well, I know specifically with the Sterling piece, very early on, we're in like Sterling is the hero mode. And so I know subconsciously in my pre-editing brain, I'm like, oh yeah, this is going to be upbeat, happy, exciting, corporate. You're going to have the corporate happy feel basically.
Plot twist.
Because it's a corporate happy nursing video essentially.
Yeah.
But plot twist, in one of our interviews, we got a deep, heartfelt story.
Yep.
And you guys will see it. It's literally the first person that appears on screen.
Yeah.
Totally broke the mold for where I thought the edit was going to go, just with her interview.
But and some people can do different things.
Yeah.
I personally, I have to start with the song. Now, whether I know the song the day I'm shooting or whether I just am searching for the song when I first start to edit, the song for me drives a lot of things.
It does.
So we'll often start by finding the music.
Yeah.
At that point, we remembered the day, right? We make notes as or make mental notes as we're on location with the interviews. Like, oh, I think that was a good bit.
Yeah.
But now we know, okay, in this case, we kind of need to slow it down for a bit.
Yeah, we need to be a little more heartful, a little more emotional.
Soft, right? The tone is soft. It's not some
Somber,
like edgy club dancing music. It
No.
just wouldn't fit. Which, again, you're constantly solving problems with editing and audio. This is a point that I love to make. I almost think all of the audio aspects of your video are more important than the visual aspect. I can overlook and forgive poor visuals.
Yeah, with good audio.
And that includes sound mixing, that includes sound effects, the right music, levels, all of those things. I can overlook a lesser or a bad set of images if the audio is good.
Yeah,
the
agreed.
inverse doesn't
Not so
happen.
much, yeah.
You can have beautiful imagery, but if your audio is
garbage, you're in trouble.
it's hard.
And that comes down to dialogue, music choice, sound effects choice, everything.
Yes. All of those things are going to either
Bad
help.
audio is not an excuse to have great video.
No, the goal is to have both.
Right.
But
Goals to have both, but like better audio is better than having great video.
Yeah. So all of those choices that you make, those problems that you're solving, are going to either help or aid in telling your story.
Yeah.
For instance, literally with the exact same dialogue from our first interview patron,
Shannon.
Yeah, from Shannon. We changed the song to a happy thing.
Didn't work.
Well, it's not the impact. Like
Right.
it's not the same impact.
There was no build.
Yeah, so
There was no build.
say all that to say we generally will start by finding the music. Now we did know through the day and through the goal of the piece that we were eventually going to transition and basically position our client Sterling Wellness
As the hero.
as the solution to this problem that other businesses are now realizing they have. That was the whole goal.
Well, this goes back to elementary school days where we learn about how the plot of a story works. You know, you have your beginning, you have your climax, and
You have your rising actions, and all those.
Yeah, your rising actions, you have your resolution. Like we were able to play that in this video because we did. The beginning was like, oh my gosh, this person had a serious issue.
Yep.
So we were rising that in the action, and then we introduce the hero at that point in time of Sterling, and then how they were able to help Shannon. And then by the end, we're like, oh, they were able to impact a whole company.
Yep.
So then music changes, the whole feel of the video changes, and Sterling's the hero.
There you go.
And you've got Summers Taylor singing their praises,
Right.
essentially. So that was the whole character arc, basically, of Sterling in the video. And we accomplished that in sub 5 minutes.
Well, so the reason why that music is such an important thing to start with is because that dictates so many things.
It does.
It's already you're invoking some sort of emotion.
Let's say you're putting the mood somewhere.
It also affects the pacing of the edit. For instance, with Star Fitness, our gym client, totally different than Sterling Wellness.
Yes.
Right? It's normally
upbeat,
quicker transitions, a little more
We're
flashy,
motivating.
those
We're trying to
things.
be motivational.
Absolutely. Different goals require different genres and styles of music. So we've got the pacing of the edit. And then another problem that we solve on the post-production side is in the way of color grading. And it's not necessarily in the problem of like, okay, this image had problems.
Right.
But I guess ultimately what I'm trying to say is our big problem that we were trying to solve was to show Sterling Wellness as this great service for businesses, right? And so the color grade is also a lot like the music going to impart some sort of emotion.
Yeah. It's going to invoke a mood.
It's going to invoke a mood. So we chose, especially with the exterior stuff, a lot warmer.
Yeah.
And that's when we started to show it at the end. And so Sterling Wellness has been introduced as the hero.
And I mean, we're shooting outdoor construction, so like typically sunnier days because you can't be constructing in the rain.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense, right? For this thing to look like an old Netflix show, Ozark, or I'm going to take
Super
it to
Blue, super extreme here. Sweeney Todd, remember the movie Sweeney Todd?
I do not know the
It's
movies.
all desaturated and whatnot. It's
Oh,
Johnny Depp at his best. Anyways, we were invoking a mood, even with the look of the footage.
With the look of the footage. So ultimately, again, we've got pre-production, production, and post-production. But from the get-go all the way to the end, it's just a series of solving problems.
Yeah, it's a series of solving problems, and I would even say too, like preventing problems. And one way that we prevent problems, specifically in post production, is one of our good friends, Dylan. He has this saying: sometimes in showbiz, you got to kill your darlings. Like sometimes solving a problem is knowing when to not put a piece of footage into the video. Because it's just not necessary.
Yeah.
For what the mission is. So again, there's all kinds of ways that we solve problems, prevent problems when it comes to our medium and our service.
Yeah, and again, that's literally what our goal is, and we are, in my opinion, I look at us as a failure if at the end of the thing we did not help solve that client's problem.
Right.
I feel as though whether the elements were within our control or without our control, if the solution is not helped to be arrived at by our work feel like we failed.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I tell this to people all the time on the upfront. Like if we can shoot you a Hollywood movie, but if it doesn't accomplish your goal, it doesn't matter. If we don't, in Sterling's case, if we don't get more CEOs to reach out wanting your services for their company, we failed. At that point in time. So
your return on this investment is less at that point,
right?
Like
exactly.
you didn't see as
you
much
got pretty
return.
footage,
yeah,
and that's about it.
So, that's another thing that I guess we could probably round out with, but it kind of starts at the beginning.
Yeah.
If you don't have, and we don't claim to be experts on distribution,
right?
Our wheelhouse is certainly
in production,
and the creation side of things. But if you don't have a good plan for distribution for whatever this
again,
content
if you fail to plan, you can plan to fail.
Then you just, unfortunately, in today's climate of social media and the fast pace of all the media, if you don't have a good distribution plan, it doesn't matter if
it doesn't matter if Spielberg or Deakins comes in and shoots your commercial.
If it's not going to be distributed,
if you don't know where to put it and at what time to put it, and how often you should put it, it doesn't matter.
It's not going to be an effective piece. So we often get asked again, what do you do? And basically, I think from here on out, I'm just going to say, well, we solve problems. We just happen to use cameras.
With cameras.
We happen to use cameras to do it. And so I guess ultimately what I would like to say to, anybody who does what we do, or is maybe looking at doing what we do, just hope you enjoy problem solving. And truly, like I've looked at it in the rear view, and it's interesting how we both ended up here because I have an IT background. I was always in a support role. I was always in a troubleshooting and a fixing role. Nobody called me when their problem or when their computer was working great. And said, "Hey, dude, my computer's awesome. Thanks,
dude. This thing is blazing fast now."
They called me when there was a problem, and I had to attempt to solve it.
Have you power cycled?
You came in insurance, which that is IT 101. If you can fix a lot of problems just by giving it a good old power cycle. But you came from insurance, which you sold insurance policies, but at the end of the day, you were solving a problem.
I was solving a money issue so that when somebody died, they had the money to fund a funeral.
So it's funny how we have those backgrounds, and now we're doing nothing that is related to those two fields.
Except solving problems.
But the common denominator is that we are still
also we're both
problems.
Enneagram 2s. So
we think we can help everybody.
Right.
Have a desire to help everybody.
We have a desire to help.
So hopefully this was
helpful.
Somewhat helpful. It's just a quick glimpse. We could go into far more detail on all these elements.
Hey, and if you're a small business that needs a problem solved with what we do, now you know our process and you can plug yourself into that process. We'd love to help you.
Absolutely. Reach out. Let us know if you do have a problem. And you know what? The solution may be as simple as a photo or video.
There's also a couple solutions that would help this channel and this podcast out, Jared. What might those be?
Ratings, reviews,
stars and bars.
Leave us any of those.
Good or bad.
Good or bad.
We read them all.
We like them.
You're not going to hurt our feelings.
Absolutely
not. If you love us, great. If you hate us, well, I hope you don't hate us, but if you do,
absolutely.
Not the end of the world.
Not the end of the world.
On that note, Jared, here's the hard part.
What's that? Oh, I guess we'll see you guys later. See you guys in the next one.
Maybe that make that very hard.
A little confusing, but not hard.